Hi everyone, and welcome back to session 3 of Intro to Songwriting. So today we're going to talk about lyrics and meaning, or at least begin to talk about them. And one of the most important things in thinking about songwriting and your work is the idea of meaning. What does it mean? What am I trying to convey? What is the message I'm trying to convey? And again, this idea of having a flow of ideas. It doesn't always have to be linear, and in many cases it may not, but there needs to be some kind of a flow. However, there are several cases where it will be more of a linear progression, kind of arch. That would be the ideal construction of the song or tune. On page 44 of Brainy's book, he says, "A great song has a life of its own. It will move you even if it's sung a cappella." Now that brings up an important point there in the songs that we're writing. Does it have enough substance, enough pep or pizzazz, if you will, to just be sung a cappella? How does it sound if it has no instrumentation? Because if the basis of it is really good to where it sounds compelling and moving, just you singing it with your voice solo, when you add other instrumentation, it's going to make it that much bigger and grander of an experience and message conveyed in a bolstering of musical materials. So I just wanted to point that out. Two other important ideas that Brainy points out in chapter 3 are the idea of structure and dynamics. And structure, remember how we're putting things together, how a bridge links to a chorus, or vice versa, a chorus to a bridge, or a verse, etc. And the other thing, one of the most important thing, is dynamics. A change in dynamics is an effective way to keep the listener interested in a song. But not only that, it's a way that you convey a flow of ideas to, again, in previous lessons I've talked about how my philosophy is that chorus or second chorus should be one of the most anthemic parts. So that means dynamically there should be a build from a softer level, maybe a mezzo piano or medium soft dynamic that then builds into this large forte, really loud, powerful, energetic portion of the song. Now, that's a generalization. It doesn't always have to be that way. I have songs that start immediately really loud, and they're still able to convey a sense of energy, and that energy is conveyed, I think, through the song. So, as a general rule, though, I think it's important to build up to a high point. One of the things we talk about in structuring a composition is building up to a climax. Where does a climax occur, and then how does it resolve down? That's more of a classical form, but it's good to think about too in terms of songwriting. What is your high point in the piece? And again, with writing lyrics of your material, what is the most powerful point that you're building towards? You may know it. If you've been recording lyrics in your notebook, you may have an idea that you've circled as, okay, this is what I want to build towards, this is the main idea. That can be your high point. If you don't know yet when you're doing the kind of free flow of ideas that we've talked about recording, you can go back, listen to the material that you have, organize it. Maybe the first verse needs to be the chorus, and the chorus, or what you have as a chorus, is a pre-chorus. So important things to think about is the idea of rewriting and reworking your materials to see what fits best and conveys the message of the song. And again, dynamics are one of the most important tools we have to take something that can be possibly more mundane and make it magnificent. Or at least generally, because you can have amazing lyrics and musical material, but if it's all the same level, the same intensity, the same dynamic. It's missing that craft that takes you on a journey to experience a piece of good music as it should be experienced. And in really beginning to dive into chapter 4 on writing lyrics, Brainy begins with this idea of simplicity, and I cannot agree with that more. I've already talked about one of the fundamental reasons I think simplicity is important is to be able to follow, especially in the worship context, because that way the audience, the listener who has never heard the song before, is able to pick it up and worship. But in my experience as well, simplicity can be a powerful tool no matter what material you're generating. And Brainy also says on this page 60, the idea of focus on one idea and build your song around it. You've got too many ideas here, was one of the quotes that he had mentioned. Now it's great to have lots of ideas, right, to be able to create. That's an awesome tool to have. And then it's being able to take maybe all these ideas you have and really pinpoint what are the best ones, what are the top ones, and what go together, and what is the main idea. So in also talking about lyrics, let's take the approach that you have the lyrics, that lyrics came first. So then how do you set those lyrics to music? Well, one possible way is you can take, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want, Psalms 23, and set it to music. I'm not necessarily coming up with my own lyric. I can substitute my own lyrics in, but right now I have a lyric that's set. So then the process of setting it to a melody. And I may just be playing around like I am right now. And I would set those words. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Would be one idea, and I might say, okay, I've got my recording device, hit record, now I'll try another one. Say I really like that first one, so I'll stick with it. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. And I may have liked that idea, but then I keep trying to generate new ones off of the first initial Lord is my shepherd one. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. So now I have 3 melody ideas I can draw from, all using the same initial melody of. That first part, the Lord is my shepherd. So now that I've got initial melody figured out, I can begin to give it a little chordal accompaniment if I'm more comfortable with that. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. So a general lyric we can start working with, lyric and meaning. So if I'm using this song, I may say, okay, my primary message here is I want to talk about the Lord is my shepherd and building around that. The nice thing is this entire psalm has already been framed for us, and it's the Word of God. So there's going to be no better lyric than what's here. And you can craft the way some of the verses flow. So let's just say we got our initial idea of our lyric being, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Let's say this is our first verse and I'm going to repeat it. Oh, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. And then let's say I have a kind of bridge pre-chorus that I want to set, where I want to kind of build it up into a chorus. You maketh me to lie down in green pastures. You leadeth me beside still waters. You maketh me to lie down in green pastures. You leadeth me beside still waters. Say, you know, verse 6, surely goodness, I want to be the main chorus. You identify it, and again, we're playing around with ideas here. Surely goodness and mercy follow me, follow me. Surely goodness and mercy follow. And I will dwell in the house of the Lord. I will dwell in the house of the Lord. I will dwell in the house of the Lord. So now I'm taking my lyrics that I've identified I'm going to work with and experimenting with ideas of ways I can shape the lyrics to fit with the melody. So, just a quick review, I started with the idea of using a melody-driven approach to setting lyrics. The Lord is my shepherd. And then you can play around with what notes in the scale you might like, or have a tendency to gravitate towards, or at least your ear would want to set them. So that's one approach. The other is to take the chordal approach. The Lord is my shepherd, right? And so we have an initial verse that we're setting as just one, then it builds up. That he maketh me to lie down, and have going to give us a little bit more build into the chorus of surely goodness and mercy follow me, follow me. And now you may have noticed what I'm playing right there now in the chorus might be different than what I've said previously. It's all about the creative process. So now, having a record of the first chorus that I sang and this one that I'm working with here, I can A-B to see which is the one I like better. And again, this is more of a free flow approach to setting the lyrics to music. And then I would go back, again A-Bing, pick the best one, or the one I like, and then relearn what I was already singing, which is kind of a funny thought, that you would actually go back and learn what you're performing spontaneously. But it happens quite a bit. I still even do it a lot, where I'll just be letting ideas freely flow, go back and then pick portions of a song that was spontaneously flowing and then relearn it, or then develop it and capitalize on some of those great spontaneous moments. So now I want to get into some more concrete approach to lyrics. And again, one of the main purposes behind this course is I want to resource you guys with not only your own individual way you flow and have more of a spontaneous creative process, but I want to equip you with the tools where you can actually structure a song with grace and dignity and excellence, to where you have all the skills from the technical side, or at least most of them, from a technical side and from a more free-flowing side, spontaneous. So, in doing so, I need to cover some of the topics that Brainy brought up. And let's start with rhyme on page 66. He says, I guess more than 99% of all commercially successful songs use rhyme. Why is it so important, and what makes the rhyme work? There's a reason that people still remember the nursery rhymes of childhood. Their rhymes are strong and predictable, and the meter is solid and consistent. And I can't stress that enough as a generalization of being consistent, having a solid meter that bears consistency. You'll see quite a bit, or at least I see it in my own writings, that I may have an initial line that was more of a free flow, and then I can go in there and craft beneath it something that's still in the same vein of the message that I'm getting at, but that rhymes and has something, a consistent metric accenting. And we'll talk about this more as we go on, and in our webinars as specific questions you have. But rhyme has other values as well. It can create a sense of symmetry and completion, and it offers an opportunity to enhance the power of a line by establishing a pattern that creates the expectation of a resolution. So again, thinking about that fundamental question of meaning. What am I trying to convey? What verse of scripture have I meditated on and is really jumping out at me? And what is that verse really saying? What is that verse really stirring in me that I can convey? Brainy goes on to say on page 67, top of page 67, he encourages us to put in that extra effort and come up with perfect rhymes without sacrificing naturalness. And I think this is huge. I think it's really important to put in the time to really crafting the idea of craftsmanship, to putting in the effort to making the lyrics as smooth as possible, especially when it's your own additions and kind of ornamentations to maybe Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd, that you're putting in there, where you have the fundamental truth of the psalm, and you're just kind of shaping it in your own creative way that still stays true to this text, of course, but that adds your own personal dynamic and thoughts and revelation on it. So let's begin breaking down the types of rhyme on page 67. The perfect rhyme, the ideal one. The stressed sound that ends the lines are identical, though the preceding consonants are different. God with quad. Heaven forbid we would ever rhyme those two. God and quad, action, fraction, variety, society. This is without the question the most powerful rhyme you can use. There's an ongoing debate among writers about whether it is the only form of rhyme to be used. My feeling is that you should make every effort to find a perfect rhyme without having to alter the meaning of the line if you can't find one, up for the next best. So great point. My favorite type of rhyme, perfect rhyme. So then the next one, imperfect, near, false, slant, oblique, or half rhyme. It approximates rhyme as in port, forth, loss, wash, around, down, shaky, aching. Some would argue strongly that it shouldn't be called rhyme at all, but assonance. Anyway, let the nitpickers argue. And he goes on to say, sometimes you just can't find a perfect rhyme to fit your meaning, but an imperfect near rhyme fills the bill. Imperfect rhymes are common and quite acceptable in pop music. And then Goes on to the masculine or one rhyme. A single syllable rhyme as in pack, rack, or multi-syllable words in which the last syllable rhyme as in fantasize, idolize. The next one is feminine or two rhyme. A two-syllable rhyme with the stress on the penultimate syllable. The vowels and inner consonants must match as in maker, shaker, masquerading, degrading. Three rhyme, a rhyme which the stress comes on the third to last syllable as in medium, tedium, facilitate, rehabilitate. And then the next type, open rhyme. A rhyme that doesn't end in a hard consonant as in glow, snow, and fly, try. He then says, use open rhymes whenever possible on notes that are to be held. Then we have the closed or stopped rhyme. A rhyme that ends in a consonant that makes us close our mouths and that can't be sustained when sung. The b, d, k, and t. And he goes on to talk about the ones that can be sustained. The l, m, n, and r can be sustained. F, s, f, and z can be sustained but won't sound very pleasant. And these are all really important, and we'll break this down. And I think it's actually the next page that talks about open and closed fricatives, plosives. Oh, voiced. Yes, it's called voiced and unvoiced. Plosive, fricatives, and nasal. So these are all just technical sides of thinking about what we're doing, which will actually be important because I'll talk about later how it's important that whatever lyrics you have, where it sits in the melody. You don't want some constricting E sound to be way up high because you won't hit the note. Where if it's an open one, like an ah or oh, or well, ah's the best one, ah, you're gonna be able to sing that much higher range without totally constricting your voice and airflow. That's another side of it. As we're talking about songwriting, we're talking about dealing with text that has to be sung, which requires air, vocal control, and to produce those there has to be the proper management of placement in the palette of the voice, if you will, about what causes a constriction where to make that sound the air has to be kind of compressed, or what's more open in this wonderful apparatus that God designed of the larynx and other wonderful technical names which I will not get into. So keeping in mind that this actually is important as we go along, or at least to think about, or at least be generally aware of, be exposed to these ideas of plosives and fricatives and stuff. So S sounds, sibilants, drive recording engineers crazy. And I've experienced this before where engineers have to go in there and edit this. So like on a word, cross. If you have several singers singing the word cross and they're all mismatched, it sounds like cross. It's just kind of a funny phenomenon. But anyway, back on course. Pay close attention to these singability factors as you write your lyrics, and we'll really begin to dive into this, the singability of your lyrics. What are going to be the limitations, just from a textual point of view, of the vowel or the consonant, or how the word functions phonetically, because it'll be important thinking about this tandem interaction between phonetics and music as we're writing lyrics. We're taking our phonetic tools, which give us our language, our English language, to then set musically to be sung. Alright, so the internal, inner, or inside rhyme. End rhyme, of course, occurs at the end of a line. Internal rhyme occurs within the line, as in, the fate of the great state is now in your hands. Brady goes on to say, the constant creative challenge is to find the best rhymes possible and still retain the flow of natural speech patterns, while at the same time not compromising content and mood. So that's important. Again, this idea of flow, but then with the idea of flow, having the tools where you can craft a great song. One that has proper grammar structure, proper phonetic lyric placement, where it sits in the voice. And that takes work and study. But the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. And you will have songs that just that you sing and just kind of flow that will be great on their own, and you'll have other ones that you really have to work at. So on page 68, the point is brought out again, which I've already emphasized, but can't be emphasized enough. Lyrics are sung, not read or spoken, so it's going to have a different feel, a different structure. When you sing, you exaggerate vowels, and this is really important. So there's the chart, family rhyme. Let me just break this down. Family rhyme, number 1, it says the syllable vowels are all the same. 2, the consonant sounds after the vowels belong to the same phonetic families. 3, the sounds before the vowels are different. And it gives the table of rhyme, voiced, plosive. So let me give you guys what this sounds like, just in case you're not sure. You see VDG on there. You may not know what this sounds like. This is actually really important in voice, and you study this, and those of you who have had voice lessons have had to face this. But it's important to know, if you haven't had any as a songwriter, to know just these fundamental concepts. So a voice plosive is b, d, g. A voice fricative is v, v, z, z, and zh. And nasals would be there, r, n, and n. Really in the nasal. Okay, so then the unvoiced are the p, t, k. It's more that percussive. P, p, t, t, k, 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 k. It's a plosive. A fricative would be f, th, s, sh, and ch. F, th, s, sh, ch. F, th, s, sh, ch. Let's try that one 5 times fast. Anyway. Just wanted to give you guys an audio example of this, because these are all factor into, again, songwriting. Whether we have a part of a chorus that rings out ba 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 ba, probably not, or the fa 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 the sa sa pa 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 pa. Who knows? Maybe you will. Maybe you have a chorus and then you really feel you need a pa 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 vocal line. Probably not. But anyway, just to give you an idea of some of these things we will be dealing with. So I'm just going to go ahead and read what is said here. Each of the 3 boxes, plosives, fricatives, and nasals, forms a phonetic family. When a word ends in a consonant, you can use the other members of that family to find substitutes for perfect rhymes. Rub, up, thud, put, bug, stuck. All in with the same members of the same family of plosives, so they're all rhymes. Love, buzz, judge, fluff, fuss, hush, touch. End with the members of the fricative family, so they're all family rhymes. Strum, run, sung, rhymes. Rhyme as members of the nasal family. But he goes on to give some further examples, which I'll let you guys read on your own, but I wanted to address this fundamental idea of a phonetic family concept, the plosives, fricatives, nasals, because these are all parts that we'll deal with in words, different words that you find. And it'll be great as we're doing our webinars, because the text that you guys said, I could be, oh yeah, there's a plosive right there. Oh, there's a fricative right there. And not just for pointing it out, but for where you're singing it. To help you guys make some adjustments, maybe in the melody line, or vocally, how you phrase it. And what do I mean by phrasing? So if I have the word Lord, I could phrase it as Lord, or Lord, Lord. One single one, right? Lord. And really have it be melismatic. Melismatic is where it has lots of, I'm just drawing out that Lord. Duh. And there was my plosive. Lord. Lord. If I don't put in that voice plosive, duh, we might be thinking I'm just saying lore. Lord. Duh. Duh. You need the duh. Lord. Lord. Anyway, there's lots of ways we can set that. So that's just taking one word and look at how many different ways, just, I think it was mainly 3 that I just created there, and addressed the importance of having the voice plosive on the end of that. So we'll find lots of these as we go on. Alright, and one of the important things to say about rhyme scheme is to make rhyme work as a memory tool, you must be consistent. Consistency is key with anything in our songs. That doesn't mean that I can't have a song in 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1. I can't go into more of a 6/8 feel. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4. Go back to the 4 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. Because that may have 2 really cool parts that give a nice variation between a verse and a bridge into the chorus that set us up for a nice kind of flow of ideas, which would be great. And I actually use that a lot, like a 4 into a 6 pattern. But there's nothing wrong with keeping a rhythmic simplicity of 4, and a lot of times it's commonly referred to as 4 on the floor. Just the idea of a simple 4/4 structure. So I'll count it out loud for you guys, just make sure you're following. And 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So that's another part that we'll get into later, is some rhythm and ideas. And the next chapter, which is all about songwriting, we'll begin to really dive into some basic definitions of structuring songs. Again, we're kind of in this abstract world a little bit because I'm teaching from materials that I'm finding, and a big part of the teaching process is collaborative. So having you guys bringing in your materials that you're working with is going to be monumental in some of our webinar discussions. You'll learn probably the most. I can't underemphasize the importance of attending the webinars and really putting careful thought into your melodies that you're writing, because that's how you're going to get the most out of me. So now going back to the lyric, "The Lord is my shepherd," we have, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." And that phrase right there really flows perfectly. "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures." There's really a systematic meter that's followed here that makes it easy. So that's easy to set in a way. And that's another thing too about with these lyrics, especially when we're setting a lot of these biblical lyrics, that we have the material. It's a big part of the process has been done. One, identifying the material, having material already created for us. So then we're able to focus our efforts in crafting how the melody of that material is phrased. So let me just demonstrate a couple ideas, what you could do with that. Let me, before I do that real quick, give you two definitions, two musical definitions. One is syllabic, which means single syllable per note, per word. So if I use the word I am standing, standing, every syllable that I have, I am standing, every syllable has a note. So follow my little finger, right? I am standing, versus many notes within the syllable. So I can use I am standing. So I'm elongating the words. So this is where really craft comes in, and playfulness and creativity of how do you set the lyric? Do you have it be syllabic? Do you have it be melismatic? I will say this, usually when you're trying to get a point across, you want it to be syllabic. You want it to be single words per note. I am standing in your presence, because it's really communicating the message clearly. The melismatic is more of an ornamentational approach. You are the Lord. So again, I can ornament Lord, and again, that can come with some artistry to it, as well as what do you want to ornament and why? Do we want to ornament the word Lord because to kind of reflect His sovereignty and supremacy and beauty? It can be one way of thinking of it. Another way is what does the phrase merit after that? What does it need? It may merit more elongation if you've had really kind of chunks of words kind of spaced, thrown at us to give it flow. So you have chunk, 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 flow. So, like, you are the Lord who heals me. You are the Lord that supplies my every need. Just different techniques for you guys to play around with. So, with that in mind, I'm going to stick with just that simple lyric, Psalm 23, verse 1, and see what practical things we can do with that. The other thing you can do is you can take "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want," and you can kind of personalize it back to Him by using the you. You are my shepherd, I shall not lack. But you are my shepherd, I shall not want. I won't be And again, we haven't covered chord structures just yet, so I'm taking more of a free flow approach where you guys can do the same thing, is play some chords you're familiar with, and then just see how the lyrics that you have written down, try and sing them over it, and see what happens, what comes out. And you'll find this process in listening back to it that you're able to shape and create those lyrics to really fit where you want them and fit together nicely. And again, you're going to have some ideas that are just right there and like, whoa, that's really cool. And then others that are going to take work. That craftsmanship, the finding a rhyme scheme or that fits how the words go together. Let me just draw from a brief example real quick that uses the sixth verse, surely goodness and mercy shall follow me. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me. Surely I'm gonna dwell in your land. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me. Surely I'm gonna dwell in your land. And it has a little more upbeat pattern to it. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me. Surely I'm gonna dwell in your land. And that was purely a melody-driven approach. I started playing this phrase. And then I matched the syllables with these words. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me. Surely, surely goodness and mercy will follow me. Surely I'm going to dwell in your land. So this is the first video on lyrics that we'll talk about. The next one we'll get into some other aspects of lyrics, and then I believe it's the subsequent lesson we will really dive into constructing a song, which I'm excited about, and I hope you guys are too, because we'll get some more technical, hands-on ways that we can say, okay, I want a song to be happy feeling, major key. What are my key chords, major, primary chords I can use in structuring that song? So those are tools we go over. So anyway, I hope this lesson has been helpful in talking about lyrics, again, and the way that they fit. See you guys next week.